Hi Flosstube, it's Chrissy, finally a farm girl, also finally a farm girl on Instagram. This is Flosstube episode number 6. It is Sunday, April 25th, and I'm a couple of days, I've been trying to do it on Friday nights, but I really held off for one special reason, and I will share that with you shortly. I had a really good week. I'm in my family room, so I thought since I participated in I did my own modified version of the 24 hours of cross stitch this weekend, and that is the first time I've ever done that, and the host of that is Jen of Quirks and Stitches, and she does that with her mom, and I've always just thought it looked so fun, and they really make it fun. They usually have a theme, and I'm sure you all know her. They work on beautiful pieces, they come up with different movies they want to watch, so ultimately I would love to be able to do that with my daughter, and I think that we'll get there. This time I was pushing forward on my newest model stitch, and it gave me a really good chance to just plug away at that and binge watch Flosstube. So let's see. One, if you're new, welcome. This channel is pretty much 95% about cross stitch right now. I do have a few things to show you. This time, just a little blast from the past that are other forms of stitching and needle arts. Let's see. And if you have been following for the previous 5 floss tubes, thank you so much. And thank you for all the wonderful comments. I do my best to reply. I think that it's such a sweet gesture of you to take your time and watch and then comment. So they're important, and I really do appreciate you taking an extra moment at the end to share with me your thoughts, and you just lift me up with that. So thank you. And I appreciate that you hit the like button and that you subscribe. And it's fun to know that a channel that you're, creating is growing. So that's fun. That's part of it. It's a small part of it, but it is fun. So I got a shout out this week from a gentleman by the name of Kyle Reichemeyer. And he's a floss tuber as well. I think he took a little bit of a break, but thank you, Kyle. And he cheered me on right from the very beginning. And I will say that I had not watched his recent floss tube, so I did not know he'd given me a shout out until he messaged me. And then when I did watch, I got a real kick out of it, Kyle, especially when you smelled your floss. I thought that was so actually, I don't know. I mean, is there anything better than new floss or new pattern when this is your hobby that you love so much? So anyways, my favorite that Kyle was working on is a mystery sampler. He's only showing us certain motifs, and then his viewers are able to try and guess, and it's a beautiful stitch. I also got to watch Kitten Stitcher. She has a new one out, and it's been since January. So Teresa, Kitten Stitcher, she has her own Etsy shop, and I'm sure she's well known to all of you. But that was fun to watch, and she was able to purchase a new antique sampler that pretty much will take your breath away. So if you haven't stopped in to see her, it's fun to always see her cats. And you see this is Kiwi right here. She pretty much stays on the arm of the love seat here while I stitch each night. Let's see, I watched Kindred Stitcher, Lisa. I believe she's on her way out to a retreat. She has a few retreats, and her sampler wall has grown behind her, and they are phenomenal. So I did watch Lisa, and she has, a lot of people will say I have a soothing voice. That's kind of, I don't know, when you hear your own voice, it's not my favorite. But when you hear somebody else's, and that is how Kindred Stitcher is to me. I feel like she just is grounded, and she's just a pleasure to listen to. I watched Lori Holt, and I'm still catching up on a couple of her floss tubes, but I am excited to say that I am going to join Lori and Kimberly at the Fat Quarter Shop with their June stitch along of Lori's new pattern, Flea Market Flowers. I know a few of you have already, well, probably a lot of you have already started it, but I'm going to go ahead and give myself till June to get it kitted up. I did try to grab, she has a really cute floss card that goes with it, so I was trying to grab everything. And the DMC floss kit that she sells, which makes it just so easy to just grab it all, I believe they were out of that, so I just held off right now. And hopefully I would like to have the floss card, the DMC kit that she sells through Fat Quarter Shop, and the pattern. But I didn't want to pay shipping and handling 2 different times. It just didn't make sense, and I have till June. So I'm gonna join in. It's beautiful. The colors are just happy. I think that's probably the one word that if I had to pick a word for Lori Holt, it's just happy. I love that we both love red, and I love when Lori to me is a joy to listen to when she shares her stories about growing up. I mean, her work is phenomenal. Her quilting is phenomenal. But my favorite part about Lori is when you hear her talk about life on the farm, life with her grandmother and her mother. I just adore the fact that she has wrapped so much of her family and her memories of that into her stitching. And so I'm all ears when she's talking about that. Let's see. So I believe Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop is going to host that on Wednesdays in June, and I will be part of that, and hopefully you can join too. I watched Carol, Saltbox Stitcher. She's obviously pretty well famous on Flosstube, and she just is an inspiration when it comes to all her samplers as well as quilting, and she's another Floridian. So she's, I believe Carol is about maybe 3 hours away from me. But either way, it was great to see her have an episode, a Flosstube episode out there. And let's see, from that, Carol mentioned Susan Standley, Standley, as a new Flosstube to go watch. She talked about how, because Carol loves textiles, and that was her educational type background and college background was fabrics, textiles, things like that. So she mentioned this Flosstube, and if I wanted to, or that if you like the history of samplers, and I gravitate to that. I gravitate to watching history. If you ask me what I watch on TV, besides Flosstube, it would be investigative type shows, and I love looking on YouTube for history type situations on whether it's presidents, it just doesn't matter. That's just my area of, I can stitch, I can listen, and when the Mayflower was coming out, the Women of the Mayflower, that's what I was out searching on YouTube and refreshing my memory on everything. So I can't say I'm a history buff, I can just say I enjoy it. So I did go watch Susan Standley after the recommendation from Carol, and I highly recommend it if you love the background and the history of some of these needle arts. So Susan, well done. You were a pleasure to listen to. Carol, thank you for the reference. I just had a blast listening to all the different historical type connections that she made to samplers and floss and colors and red. Red, probably my favorite color. And so when you learn in these samplers about these young girls, these schoolgirl samplers, and these young girls in the different, I guess it would be backgrounds, because you had some girls that were actually in schools where their parents sent them, and then you have some girls that are learning to stitch just at the side of their mom, maybe in a log cabin or something of that sort, and some would have to use scraps, and others obviously had their supplies there. So red was a unique type situation because of the dye and because of how in history it came to be. And so anyways, I will not steal the thunder and all the excitement that you get from watching Susan Stanley, if you want to call it that, but it was to me because I love to learn about how this all came to be. Okay, so yes, I did do 24 hours of cross stitch within reason. I started Friday night. I did some Saturday morning. Saturday I went and picked up a finished piece at Hobby Lobby from the framers. And then again, I stitched probably 8 till 1 a.m. on Saturday, and I wanted to do some today and it just didn't happen, but it will tonight. So I will say by the time it's all done, maybe I will have 12 or more hours in. Not quite the 24 Jen, but I gave it a shot. Okay, whips. Let's see, let's start, right, Kiwi? Start. Okay, so whips. The biggest whips that I worked on this week was I did push for a finish in the sampler that was just released, and I'll share that in a couple of seconds. That was my biggest thing. And then I worked on, second here, I always work and go back on Modern Folk Embroidery, The Fruit of Plenty by Jacob. This is the Stitch Along Sal for 2021. I show it every time. Last I left you, I needed to finish, March, which I did. I had to finish the flower basket. And I started April, which, let's see here if I can fold this in half. So that's March. And I think last time I'd only had like half. So I finished all that. And then you come back over and I'm working on the bones down there of April. So I'm getting there. I'm at least happy to say that there are some stitches in April on April. And that's really all that matters to me, is just that I'm keeping up to some extent. So that is Modern Folk Embroidery. I have heard from a few people comment saying that they're tempted to start it, and I would definitely recommend it. It's really a nice relaxing stitch. It's really nice to just have two colors. Anyways, and if you go out and you look at the hashtag for the Modern Folk Embroidery Sal 2021, it's MFESAL 2021 on Instagram. You can see all the color variations that people use, and it's some people are just so absolutely creative and phenomenal stitchers, gorgeous. Okay, then this is what I've been working on during 24 hours of cross stitch, and this is my next secret stitch for Twin Peak Primitives. So I've shown a couple of sneak peeks. I will show the bottom, but then after a while, this is a big one. So here's where I'm at. So during the 24 hours of cross stitch, this is where I've been focusing, is just filling in. And that's why I was able to Flosstube, because I didn't have to think. If I got my alphabet in, that's the best, is to just sit there and be able to still watch Carol and everybody and not have to worry about counting. This is the floss. for the secret stitch. And this black, I don't know what happened to the black, but anyways, so these are basically 99% DMC this time. So, and that's 2 of each on there. I have a few weeks dye works, and the red I'm using is a sampler thread Buckeye Scarlet. So, but this is nice because it's DMC, and I love DMC too. Okay, so that's pretty much what I stitched on this week. Now, the floss tags, I got a lot of comments on my floss tags. These here. Hold on here. So I think there's a few different designs. Okay, so ignore the black that decided to have a little, that had an issue, a little temper tantrum. But I shared that I would show you how I do these. The floss tags, I make them myself. I think a lot of people are, and I basically am able to order them from Etsy. So what I do is I search on Etsy for PDF tags, and then what you get is, excuse me, then what you get is this. And I try to look for them to have this shape. I've done square. You can do other shapes, but this is the shape I really look to because it's the easiest. And why is just because then you can cut them out. So typically I've gotten them for $1, I've gotten them for $3, but once you own it, you own it, and I can just print it again. So I look for different holidays and different things like this. So for the red work stitch, Valentine's, this is what I used. And then what I do is I use the heavy duty cardstock, and my printer will take it. So I just put it on cardstock, and if I wanted to, I could duplicate, print it twice, and I could glue them to the back. I actually, like for something like maybe there's only a few colors, I don't reinforce it like that. I don't double it up. There's no sense. I mean, I'm gentle enough to it. Now, if it were like this one here, where I know I'm going to be working on it a few months, yeah, I might want to go ahead and double up. But for the most part, I don't, and it's not really bad. So then the next thing I do is cut them out, and then I have this punch right here. Oops, it's got a little silver. There you go. And I got that at Hobby Lobby, and you can get them like when they're 40% off. So it really wasn't terribly expensive. And after you cut them out, then you just punch. I just fit it in the bottom. And just center it up. And then I did buy the reinforcement tags right here, these little labels. And I do put those on the front and back. So there's my card, there's my, reinforcement, and then I put it on the back. And then I just put them on my ring. And, you know, at the top, you've got your regular hole punch, and you just punch right there. So, like I said, for a lot of times you find, you know, a pattern and it doesn't call for many colors. It may, so I don't double them up. I don't make them any sturdier because as long as I'm using heavy duty cardstock, it's sufficient. And you're pulling one thread off at a time anyway, so it's worked well for me. And for the cost of the download on an Etsy shop, and because it's an Etsy download, there's no shipping. So it's so affordable that I've just created my own little folder on my Etsy favorites where I can have them by holiday. And like I said, once you have them, then you can print them anytime you need them. So that's kind of how I do my floss tag. I hope that helped a little bit. Okay, let's see. I think we're ready. So, all right, so today, Twin Peak Primitives released a new pattern called Iris Sews Sampler. And there's a story behind it. And I was the model stitcher, but I also collaborated on this particular design with them. And what I mean is there's been a few occasions where I have something on my mind, and that's the great part about the girls at Twin Peaks. And if I'm able to give them an idea for a pattern and work with them on it and collaborate, then I model stitch it, and it just, you know, that's special. So this one came out of the sweetest thing that happened after my mom passed. And I think that if we're just going to stop for a minute and talk about motherhood, and I know my family's going to laugh because normally they tell me that my stories are, they're too long, which they are. I'm a talker. But in this instance, I think we can all agree that sometimes in motherhood things happen that we just can't control. Things happen that we want to fix for our kids and we can't fix them. And when my mom passed away, obviously, it was a situation just like that. You know, you want to fix it. You want to undo it, and you can't. And you're struggling with this grief. And I'm watching my dad, and you know, I wanted to fix it, and I couldn't. And it leaves you feeling a little bit helpless. So, okay, we all understand that. Whether it's grief, whether it's parenthood, we all understand that every now and then we just want to fix something and we can't. So normally that's when I just try to stay busy. Even if you want to relate it to a situation with Philip, there are days I cannot fix and make it perfect for him. And you just do your best, but it's one of those things that as a mom, you just would desperately like to take it all away. So a little bit of time went by. If I get back to the story, a little bit of time went by, and I believe it was about a month after my mom had passed. And anybody knows that during this journey, you have a few days that all of a sudden you'll feel good. All of a sudden you aren't thinking about it 24/7. You know, and I'm talking about at the beginning. So those are great. They start to feel good. And then you have a day where you are overwhelmed and you just, you know, it's not a good day. It's not a bad day, but it's certainly not a good day. And she was just on my mind. So this one particular day, she was on my mind, and it was a hard day, and I was struggling to get through it. And when the mail came, I got a wonderful package, and I wasn't expecting it, and it was this box, and inside the box was this card and a very cute primitive style pig, which makes no sense to the connection of the cross stitch, but that's what it was. And it was from a family member. Let me grab the card. And her name is Lorna, and she was my second, I guess she would be my second cousin. Anyways, I've just always felt really, I just have always felt really close to her, and that's been really nice. And she's in Michigan, but anyways, I wasn't expecting this, and I got this card, and I will read it. And it says, "Dear Chris, this is Iris. I named her that for her blue eyes. She was made by a local artist in Houghton Lake, Michigan, and I bought her there from the Morning Glory Mercantile. I've had her for a few years, but she never really found a proper home in my house. I'm passing her along to you because of your primitive designs and seems perfect for your decor. I also enclosed the meaning of her name, which ironically couldn't be more perfect, and I hope she puts a smile on your face today. Love, Lorna." Okay. So first of all, it came on a day when I needed it, and inside of it was this picture. And it describes how the connection of an iris. And it says that the iris flower bears her name symbolically. The bloom bridges earth with heaven because of its great beauty. It represents the ability to communicate messages with those who reside with God. So, anyways, I just kept thinking about that, and I just kept thinking about an iris is a gorgeous flower, and I kept thinking about its petals opening, and I kept thinking about the stitching journey with my mom and how important it was. Fun fact is that my mom and my grandmother had a craft store together, and it was called the Jan Lee Craft Shop in Michigan. So crafts go way back, and it goes back to my mom and grandma as a mother and daughter on their own journey. And then that led me right in line with my grandma and my mom into my journey. My sister's part of that journey, and now my daughter's part of that journey. And I wholeheartedly just saw in my mind a way that I could not make it better, but that I could honor that journey. I could honor my mom and the journey that we shared. And in my head, I immediately called it Iris Sews. So there's a very special meaning in this pattern, and it's something that is a gift that I was able to create and collaborate with the ladies at Twin Peak Primitives. And my favorite form of stitching is stitching something that has meaning. That, I think, is why I'm drawn to some of these samplers, because I know that young girl, she stitched it with meaning. There's a journey there. She's telling you a story. And Twin Peak Primitives, a lot of their earlier patterns that I've stitched, the farm ones, you can see the story. It unfolds right before you. And those are my favorite types of cross stitch patterns. So let me go through this. I contacted, let's see if I can get this in. This is Iris Sews. And I guess it's a little bit, the lighting might be a little rough here, but you can see her picture on Instagram too. I contacted Twin Peak Primitives with an idea. Now, the girls, the twins, they had a wonderful mother too. So this isn't just my story. This is everybody's story. So from my head to their pattern, this is what came out of it. And of course, I wanted there to be a mother and a daughter and this little girl, that when I think of these young girls learning to stitch or doing their samplers, this is what I see. I see, mom working on hers, and, young girl working, she's got her hoop and she's got her frame, and my mom always had, she had some beautiful frames. And then these are your irises. There you go, that's better, sorry about that. So it was just, I've got my initials. I love the fact that Nerdan had captured the elements that you might see, Victorian type era with, to me, with the mom. I mean, I loved having coffee with my mom, and here we have your tea kettle and, your teacup. And I love this little lantern. I think when I saw the purse, I actually giggled, because my purse is always a mess, and so is my mom's. So out of this card and this package, and one day I will share with you the little pig that came with it. But this story about this flower, it made me feel better. It just made me feel like that there's this connection that I'll always have from earth to heaven. And with my mom, well, there you go. That's better. That's true. And so the irises are there, and I feel very honored that I'm able to work with, with Twin Peak Primitives, and that you can share something from your heart and then it's put to paper. So to all those mother-daughter stitchers, and to all those stitchers who love that journey and love the stories of these samplers, and to me it's, it was sometimes awesome to stitch, and then other times I will say it was a little hard to stitch because it just reminded me, but at the same time, you just put it down for a second and you think of all the wonderful things. So I have gotten a tremendous amount of sweet comments when I post pictures of my mom, whether I'm having a good day or a bad day. And the best part is knowing that we are definitely not alone. And I love the fact that we were able to put together a piece that to me just symbolizes that sweet part of a mother-daughter stitcher. So that is Iris Sews. That is the little story that goes with it, and is special to me, and so I hope that you can see why. It's available now, and I think it's the perfect Mother's Day, right, Kiwi? Mother's Day stitch. I think it would be fun to have it kitted up, and if you do stitch it, I would love for you to share it with me and tag me in it. That would be fun to watch. Okay, so I went and saw my dad today, and every now and then I love watching Brenda in the Cereal Starter bring things out of the vault. I think Brenda's pretty much the one that she's bringing them out. So my dad handed me something I'd stitched for my mom years ago today. So I will add this to my sampler wall, and probably add it above or somewhere near Iris Sews. And I am thinking, I don't think this was a shepherd's bush, but either way, I stitched it back in 2005, back when mauve was the rage. There are little beads. So anyways, thank you, Dad. And it has a little heart charm, and I don't know the pattern name, but I thought that was cute. And look at all the outlining. I mean, it's not a lot, it's just around the words, but it's so funny because that was the rage. Okay. All right, so let's see, haul, not much. Now, one I did get, and I put it away, and I have to get it out, but I wanted to get the floss for it. I did go ahead and buy the Hands Across the Sea Queen of the May 2021. The last 2 years, the first year I didn't even know about Hands Across the Sea. But last year, I think it was not that it was gone, but it just felt like so much of the year had passed. So when it came out this year, I kind of jumped on it knowing that it's a special pattern, and I don't know when I'll start it, but boy, is it beautiful. So if you haven't watched Nicola's reveal of the 2021 Queen of the May, it's truly magnificent. Stop in and watch that. And so I did do the PDF. I'm tempted to buy the booklet as well eventually. That seems crazy to double up, but I'm happy to have the paper, but there is just something magnificent about their books. But, okay. So that I have, and I will show you when I pick my linen and things like that when I have it. And then I grabbed just 2 eBay purchases. This is Colonial Women, Little House Needleworks. This was just off eBay. And Homestead Sampler. And I think this one is, this is Proverbs 31:31. Yeah. I don't know what it is about Little House Needleworks. I feel like I could just have them all. These are also just so fun to collect, even when you just find them on eBay for, you know, they're so affordable, but they never seem to really go out of style. Okay, let's see here. I have something I was going to show you too. Okay, so I've also done in the past with my mom. I've only done this one piece, but my mom did a lot of wool applique, and so I was just learning. And this is my first piece I did that I thought I could share with you. There we go. Sorry, cat. And so she had started it, and then this is how I learned, and this was a great piece to learn wool applique on. And then I had it framed at Hobby Lobby, but it was nice because you're able to use some of those embroidery stitches that I've used many times during, I did some crazy quilting and some red work. And so I think that it's fun. You know, you get to do the buttonhole stitch. But anyways, I actually think you can still get this. Every now and then I see it, but I love the sheep, and it's really fun. I know Carol Saltbox Stitcher does wool applique. I did with Blackberry Primitives, I did their Maggie, I'll have to look them up. I have all of them, but I did a block of the month with them for a wool applique, and I am a little overwhelmed by it, but at the same time, I really want to do it. It's very primitive, and I just finished getting the last piece. Now, I really was supposed to start all of these. Settler's Pride, I think it's called Settler's Pride. Anyways, I will pull those blocks out for you soon and go through them with you, as far as you can see how they're kitted up. And Blackberry Primitives is a wonderful shop for wool and their bundles and their applique patterns. So anyways, I have not started any. I'm a little hesitant because that's the only piece I've ever done, and Mom would have been the teacher. So, but I'm not gonna not do it either. So we'll have to watch some tutorials and get going on it. Anyways, so the last piece I saved was, this is something years ago when I embroidered. My grandma got into crazy quilting. Now, historically, there are crazy quilts out there that are antiques, and they are gorgeous. So my grandma got very big into them, and over time, we just used random fabrics and we made table runners, and it got real big for a while. But then she got into the historic side of it, and they used mostly velvets and silks. So she got into the silk embroidery. So I did quite a bit, but at that point in my life, I could not afford a lot of the silks or fabrics. I did cottons and just had fun and made table runners. But I saw this in my closet today, and I thought it would be fun to share. This is where my embroidery history comes from. Both my mom and my grandma did it too, but I will say my grandma did it more heavily than my mom did. So you can see this is velvet and this is silk, and then this is silk ribbon that she has made into roses. So, and then she's made this little bird, and I just thought this was so interesting. I would learn this from her, and that there was always a fan There's always a fan in all of her pieces. And the fun part of crazy quilting is that you can use so many different different things as far as textiles and things like that. So she would collect lace and buttons and all sorts of different, we use the pearl cotton, but you can see here she had put a C on it. Let me see if I can get the color right. So these are your bouillons, and there are French knots, and she did a C for me on there. And then each piece is held together, it's bent under with a different stitch. And then each piece had a spider. And if you look up the history on different crazy quilts, the spider in the web was meant for good luck. So she's got a bead that's on there, and she used like a krynic. So, and this is green velvet here, and that's her bouquet of flowers. So, that's part of our part of our past. And if I held it up, this kind of blows my mind too. So this she made was just like a little table runner. So that's it. Another week has gone by, and a fully finished piece came back from the framer. Thank you, Hobby Lobby, for that. I'm very lucky to have a good team of framers there that understand my goal and the samplers and all of that. So it makes picking up the pieces, you just trust them. I got to share with you one of my old pieces, and I got to share with you where Irish sews originated. And I think that sometimes, I see things as far as an idea in my head, and I feel very blessed that I'm able to reach out to somebody like Twin Peak Primitives, and they're able to put it to paper. Just because of that moment in time, you feel like you so desperately want to change things or do something. And, as a stitcher, I think there's nothing more special than to say, this stitch is for you, Mom. And that's what it was. So I hope that you fall in love with Irish sews, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And next time I will have more whips for you to show. I do have my Hands Across the Sea at the Framers. I picked a really beautiful frame for that red work piece I did. I think it was Emily Ann Foster. So I'm excited to get her back. So next week I should be able to show you another fully finished object. So happy Sunday, everyone. I hope that you're blessed. And I thank you all for joining in and for subscribing. Bye.